3406.
Hello, this is Hira Yankee 1 Echo Bravo Echo from Greece, and welcome back to my channel. Last week I made a video for the Osun KGQ332 or the eVolt ETQ332. It's the same thing. eVolt is the brand name of Osun in Europe. Today we're going to see how to program this radio through Windows with the CPS that Osun offers in their website. I have already downloaded the program and installed it, so we can have a look. This is the CPS program, the KGQ332. Right. So, before I start, I'd like to show what happens here. I'll try to input a frequency in the cells, let's say 144. I can't input the comma from my keyboard. My keyboard is in English. I can't input the comma here, so I can write the correct frequency. As you can see here, there's a comma for the frequency, and I cannot proceed, but I can input a dot. Let's see. Now, every time I press a frequency here, every time I put any frequency, I can try the UHF 446. It reverts to this number, 999.99750, which drove me crazy for half a day or so. I couldn't understand what's wrong. Nothing is wrong with my PC. I was trying to understand why the CPS does this. It's like it's going to a default number or subtracting or adding some numbers to the frequency that I enter. I even tried to import or export the channels to a CSV file to see what happens. Even if I did that, then I couldn't import the CSV file. The program didn't work at all. It malfunctioned. Well, I gave it some thought and an idea came to me which I didn't expect to work, but it did. And this is because this program is poorly written. I'm sorry I have to say this to Osun, and let me show you what I mean. Here's what happens. It's all about delimiters. The program is not able to understand that other countries in the world do not use dot as a delimiter in decimals, and they use comma or the opposite. So as you can see here, US, which is the biggest market, and China use dot for a decimal separator, and a lot of other countries in the world, the green ones, like Europe, use comma. This is the first time that I see a program that takes in account only the delimiters that are stored in the PC and not what it should use in order to work properly. So I wrote a little batch file for Windows, a command file. I have already uploaded this to GitHub and I will put the link in the description of the video to overcome this problem, and I would suggest Osun to have a look and maybe fix the program in order to work in all countries. I won't bother you with the details, but let's see how it works now. Right, as you can see here, my batch file, my command file is changing the decimal symbols to dot, comma, and the list separator to comma. It then activates the CPS, which right now it works as it should with the dots. I can input any frequency here and it works perfectly. And when we will close the CPS, it reverts the delimiters back to what I have in my country. It also saves a registry file for Windows as a backup. If anything goes wrong, you can double click this file and revert to the original settings that your computer has. Now, enough about this. Let's see the CPS and its functions. Right, so now I have connected the radio to my PC with a classic programming cable that is also available for other radios with the 2 pins of Kenwood. I will put a link in the description of the video for an older blog post that I show how to make your own cable if you want and overcome any driver issues with Windows, because it's an FTDI cable, so you won't have any problems with cheap cables like the ones that are distributed with cheap Chinese radios and they don't work properly all the time. So the radio is connected. You will start by selecting the port if it's not selected, but better make sure it before you start. And you can save the original configuration by clicking read from the radio. Now I have already passed some channels in the radio, so this is not the original configuration that the radio had in, but we'll just see how the CPS works. As you can see, the radio is connected. It writes com or communicating. The translation is not very good as usual. It reboots and the memories are downloaded in my PC. Okay, I have already passed, as I told you, memories. Here is PMR channels and the GMRS, just for demo. Now here we have classic configurations known to most for ham radios or GMRS radios. RX frequency, TX frequency, in case they are different, CTCSS or DCS tones, if you need to set one. Here in PMR, of course, you don't. We have those 4 options. As we saw in the previous video of presenting the radio, low, middle, high and ultra high. I will test with the power meter in another video what those outputs are. Of course, wide, narrow, If we need a scrambler, you can choose from 8 different tones, scan add, combander, if the band is AM or not. And here are some call groups. I'm not going to show specifics for all those options. Most of them are in the manual. You can see the settings and proceed from there. Let's see the configuration settings that are in the CPS. Okay, here is what we downloaded from the radio. All these options are what we saw in the main menu in the previous video. So as you can see here, battery save, Roger, timeout timer, the alert for the timeout timer, Vox, language, scan modes, backlight, the theme from which you can choose what you want, what will be displayed in the startup when you boot up the radio, side tones, DTMF, alert tone, autolog, priority scan. This is the repeater, if it's going to be two-way repeater or one-way repeater, as we demonstrated in the previous video. Repeater speaker and PTT, tone, if it will emit a tone. There's no GPS in this version that I have, so these functions here are not useful. Okay, if you want, just for fun, you can make your own themes. As you can see here, you can change those colors. You have 4 places to make your own themes and upload them to the radio and then select them, and the screen will be reverted in those colors. Here we have the VFO settings. Okay, a thing to know here is that only in the upper bank of the radio you can use all the frequencies that it's able to transmit and receive. In the down bank of the radio you can use only VHF UHF. This is probably because, as I said, this radio has 2 transceivers inside. They obviously put a different transceiver in the second bank, maybe to cut cost, so this one is only VHF UHF. And here you can just select the defaults when you have frequency mode. Right now we have it to VHF, this is the UHF here, and here we have also the other frequencies that I can select. Here are the defaults for all the frequencies that this radio can receive or transmit. FM radio, you can just store some stations here. Key settings, here are the programmable side keys that we also showed in the previous video. The top key, the alarm and SOS function. This is the PTT2 key, which if we select this here, it works as PTT for the secondary bank. Of course, you can change the main PTT key. PF2 and PF3. I have set it to radio. This is the FM radio and CSS scan, and the PF3 in monitor, which is opening the squares to 0, and DCS scan. Here are the scan groups where you can assign channels. Unfortunately, from what I see here, you can't select specific channels to go in specific groups, but you have to select series of channels that start and end in sequential numbers. And here we have call settings for DTMF. After you finish your configuration, you just hit write to radio. The radio reboots and the configuration has passed, saving the channels and your settings. So this is it for today. The CPS is not very hard to use, it's very easy, but I really had a problem configuring it for the first time. Okay, now we'll close the CPS and my command file will return my regional settings to what they should be, and this is it. Overall, this is a great radio. I can't say that I had any problems. I will have to check the power output later on. In another video, we'll see it among other radios, how it performs. Apart from the problem that I encountered with the CPS not working in my computer and some minor translation errors inside the menu of the radio, which is pretty normal for what happens between Chinese and English translation, I can't say that I had any other problems. It seems an excellent radio with a lot of options. I'm really happy that it has a real cross-band repeater inside, and I truly believe that it's a radio that you can rely on. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this short video. If you liked it, press like, subscribe to my channel for more videos, and see you next time.